Swadika. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Rose Chitanwan. I'm going to be the moderator for the session of the webinar on pediatric drug solution today. So the webinar today is sponsored by DuPont Nutrition and Bioscience. So we are going to have a great knowledge from our expertise from DuPont to share about the pediatric drug solution that developed by DuPont. So today, as we all know, that is a tremendous effort in the industry in develop the pharmaceutical for pediatric one because we can't scale down the level of the drug for the kid, baby, infant, or adolescent in terms of scale down for the adult dosage. So now the development is bring us into the status that many companies have brought into the consideration to the regulatory that this is the right dosage, right solution. Today, together with me, we have the speaker from DuPont. Is Dr. James Du. He is the technical manager from DuPont Nutrition and Bioscience and master in pharmaceutical. This webinar hosted by DuPont as the market leader of the pharmaceutical excipients in the industry. So you may see the video already on the Metocell, Avicel, which is the hero products that you may know about on the pediatric approach solution that DuPont has developed for. So today, Mr. James will be with us to share about the solution for the pediatric drug solution from DuPont. So I would like to welcome Mr. James to be with us to give his presentation on this topic. And housekeeping one, if anyone has the question, please feel free to add your question on the Q&A box below the screen. And for anyone wants to networking with your friends, with your industry friend, you can go to chat box and put that. So welcome, Mr. James.
Hello, everyone. Hey, good morning. First of all, Happy New Year and welcome to join our today's webinar. I'm James Du from DuPont Pharma Solution Business Unit. So today I'm going to talk about the topic of pediatric drug solutions with DuPont functional pharmaceutical excipients. Okay, I think, we can get started, move to the presentation. A webinar. So today's topic for this webinar is pediatric drug solutions. I am James Du from DuPont Pharma Solution Business Unit. So I would like to share some product and application information regarding the pediatric drug solutions. First one is taste masking solutions. And secondly, how to formulate a robust suspension formulation. And after, there's anti-reflux application introduction as well. And finally, we have a brief summary for all the content. Let's move to the overview of pediatric drug development. So actually, to develop pediatric drug products, there are a lot of different requirements. For example, the formulation itself should be appropriate to the age of the children in terms of like suitable administration routes, appropriate strengths, API strengths, excipients and even the different, like oral dosage forms as well. We need also to take a look at the formulation stability and organoleptic acceptability as well. The convenience for dosing and patient compliance should be taken into account as well. I think especially for children and the parents, the flexible dose accuracy and safety, those things are very important. So eventually we need to formulate suitable pediatric drug products which has a very good patient acceptability. For the formulation development, actually there are couple of different challenges. The first one, the reality is that the difference of the pediatric patients. Just think about the children from birth to when they grow up to the age around 18. So there's a big variation regarding the height and the body weight. So which means we might need frequent dosage adjustment, right? So which is according to the different body weight. We need to adjust the API strength. The second one is taste masking. So the taste acceptability has significant impact on patient compliance. The kids actually, they are more sensitive than adults to the bitter taste. So how we can, improve the taste acceptability, which is one of the key points to improve patient compliance. And other challenges including stability, global regulatory compliance, quick access to patients, and how to accelerate R&D process. Those things are also important for the formulators. The next slide is pediatric drug dosage forms. So here we don't have all the dosage forms for pediatric drug formulation, but basically like oral dosage forms, injections, and topical drugs. These three areas, they're the most popular pediatric drug dosage forms. And also we can take a look at the guidance from the US FDA and general considerations in pediatric formulation development, which include the route of administration, drug efficacy and safety, again, acceptability, right? Which basically means palatability and swallowability. And of course, affordability, yeah, which is also very important from economy perspective. Okay, that's the overview for the pediatric drug development. Then we would like to introduce the taste masking solutions based on our cellulose coating polymer. So firstly, this is the taste masking overview. The bitter taste perception is supposed to have involved as a mechanism that averts possible toxins ingestion. So taste masking is a method of perceived reduction in undesirable or bitter taste of drug formulation. The growing needs drive to meet unique and specialized needs of different patients populations, right? In particular for the children. So there are many different dosage forms which could be combined with the taste masking technology. You can see the there are quite some marketed drugs with unpleasant taste, right? Including antibiotics, some antihistamines, and so on. So there's a long list of unpleasant API, which and there are a couple of different processes for taste masking technology from the API perspective, right? So today I'm going to talk about the taste masking coating with aquacoat ECD, our aqueous dispersion acetylcellulose coating products. So when you take a look at the chemical structure of acetylcellulose, so on the repeating glucoside units, there are about 2.5 or 3 hydroxy groups are replaced by ethoxy groups. So we do have a different product grid in terms of the viscosity here, right? So basically, the standard 7 and 10 grid more popular for taste masking coating application, right? So of course, we can use aerosol polymer to do organic coating in terms of the taste masking application. But today I'm going to show you Aquateric ECD aqueous dispersion coating product based taste masking solution case study. Okay, so the Aquacoat ECD is based on aerosol functional polymer, but this is ready for use aqueous dispersion with 30% of solid content. So here you can see the coating formulation of Aquacoat ECD. So this product can be used in various applications, including the sustained release and taste masking as well. So when you use Aquacoat ECD for taste masking or sustained release coating, there are some critical formulation and process parameters which need to be considered. So we use Aquacoat ECD to do functional coating. So we need to optimize all these formulation and process parameters to achieve a robust and reliable drug release. And plasticizer type is the use level and the curing temperature. Those things are very important to make a robust coating formulation. Actually the main purpose to add plasticizer in this coating formulation is try to, reduce the glass transition temperature and reduce the film forming temperature as well. So basically you can see here without plasticizer, the TG of aqua coat ECD is around 90 degrees C, but when we add around 25% of DBS or TEC, so we can decrease the TG dramatically, right? So when we increase the plasticizer use level, right? With TEC, the glass transition temperature decreased even much lower, and you see the range, the proper range for the curing process. Usually, because the TC can have a much lower glass transition temperature, so basically TC is a good plasticizer for aqua coat ECD at 25% use level with mixing time about 30 minutes. So the recommend curing temperature should be higher than 50 degrees C. And the different plasticizer may need different mixing time, like the hydrophobic one, ATBC, or the DBS. Usually you see here this data show that the 85%, which means the how many percent of plasticizer is present in the polymer phase. So the ATBC or TBC, those kind of hydrophobic plasticizer, we do need a much longer blending time, so to achieve the 85%. But TC just less than 30 minutes, right? And also we can see the impact of plasticizer use level on the film layer quality. Here from the SEM picture, we can see we have enough DBS as plasticizer. On the left side, we can have a very smooth and continuous film layer. But if we add insufficient DBS plasticizer, there are some cracks on the film surface. So basically, this is kind of like a high risk for the drug release control. So it's significant coating defects on the film, right? So then we can see the taste masking coating study. So this is an ODT formulation case study. We use paracetamol DC90 granules as a coating substrates. The GS31 fluid bed was used to do the coating trial. So on the left side, you can see the coating parameters and the curing process parameters here, right? So this is the coating formulation here, right? So then we can see the drug release results in terms of the impact of a coating level. So when there's no performer in the coating formulation, when we increase the coating level from 5% to 15%, actually we can easily decrease the drug release. But without performer, it's hard to adjust drug release accurately and flexibly, right? So which means we need to think about to add performer in the coating formulation. So basically we can see the impact of a performer and the coating weight gain on drug release. The VLV HPMC grade is a capable performer to modify drug release of aqua-coat ECD coating formulation. So it looks like 20% of VLV can achieve better release modification. So here we can see the 20% of mesosol VLV as performer, and coating weight gain 20% is ideal condition for desired drug release. And also we can see the result of sensory evaluation by panelists here. Right, basically both 10% of VLV and 20% of VLV coating formulation have good taste masking results at around 20% of coating level, right? But just think about the drug release control. So actually, you know, when we take a look at both taste masking efficacy and the desired drug release, 20% of VLV is more suitable for this taste masking coating formulation. And after the coating, the coated granules is a little bit bigger than uncoated granules, but it's not a very significant change. So we can see the particle size distribution data here. Right. And then we move to the ODT formulation and process. This is the result of tablet physical properties and in vitro disintegration performance, and also the sensory evaluation by panelists here, right? So basically the ODT tablets can disintegrate very quickly according to the in vitro test by texture analyzer. And based on the sensory evaluation, actually the after tableting, still there's no any obvious bitter taste for the ODT tablet sample, right? And of course, we can see the ODT drug release here. There's no big change regarding the drug release when we compare to the paracetamol coated granules. So here we can see the aqua-coat ECD coated granules are qualified for ODT formulation. And the second case study is a pediatric sachet. Here we can see the formulation and process. Okay, after the pellets coating, so we formulated sachet formulation with a coated paracetamol pellets. And then in this formulation, we also add the colloidal MCC episode CL611 as texture riser to improve the mouthfeel. Of course, some sweeteners and flavors as well. So this is a very straightforward process to make it ready for use single dose paracetamol sachet. So actually the administration process is very simple. Just need to add a spoon of water into the dry powder, then to agitate, make a ready for use slurry, right? So inside of this slurry, there's numerous taste mask pellets. And then we can see the sensory evaluation results for this pediatric sachet. So compare with the uncoated drug-loaded pellets, the Taste-Max pellets and the pediatric sachet slurry have much better the sensory rating, in particular for the pediatric sachet slurry, because we also add sweeteners and flavor. So based on the sensory evaluation results, we can see for a typical pediatric sachet formulation, there's two functional polymers like aqua-coat ECD can help to do the taste masking coating, but colloidal MCC, I would introduce it later, but this functional polymer can help to reduce the gritty mouthfeel and make it easy for swallowing and provide like creamy mouthfeel as well. So improve the organoleptic properties significantly due to the synergy of both functional polymers, which contributes to much better mouthfeel and good patient compliance. Yeah. Okay, the second part is how to formulate a robust suspension formulation, right? So usually the insoluble API should be, micronized to have a very fine particle size. So if the API particle size is less than 0.2 microns, which is a colloidal system, have a very good self-suspending capability. But if in the formulation you have a big particle size of API, let's say more than 200 microns, which might bring the gritty mouthfeel, grittiness mouthfeel, and meanwhile, if the particle size is much bigger, then there might be some stability issue in terms of the sedimentation. So usually to control the API particle size is the first important things for the suspension formulation. And here you can see the three type of suspension formulations. So the first one is permanent one. This is a very ideal suspension. So never have the flocculation or sedimentation. So it's very stable. In the middle is a flocculated. Basically, this is not as good as a permanent suspension, but is acceptable because usually the flocculated suspension can be redispersed to a very uniform suspension. But the caked, the third one, caked suspension is something, undesired for the formulator, because once you have a caked suspension, it's not so easy to redisperse the suspension into a very uniform system. So we can move to the next slide. So it's a demo to show what's the difference among the three type of suspension. So for the permanent one, this is a very uniform one. When your suspension have some flocculation, which doesn't mean is a unstable system. So there might be a fast setting, but still due to the open structure here, is also redispersible into a uniform system. But once you have a coagulation like a caked suspension, is the insoluble particle is very closely packed, and usually it's a slow setting process, but eventually you cannot redisperse this suspension into a uniform system. So based on the Stokes law, here you can see the density, particle size, and the viscosity here. They do have either positive and or negative impact on the sedimentation rate of a particle. So that's why we mentioned all above key points. They are very important when you try to develop a robust and very stable suspension formulation, right? On the right side, actually, there's a long list of suspension stability related physical properties, right? So which means to formulate a robust suspension formulation, which means tremendous optimization work. So you need to take a look at for the formulation study, right? And our product Avisol RC and CL, which is a colloidal MCC co-processed by the microcrystalline cellulose and carboxymethyl cellulose sodium. So we have two different product grade. First one is RC591 here, which basically could be used for the oral suspension, nasal spray, and topic sprays, lotions as well. The second one is CL611. There are more CMC content in this product grade, which could be used for oral liquid suspension as well, but we can also recommend this product grade for reconstitutable suspension, but the use level is a little bit higher than a typical liquid suspension. It's about 4%, but the CL611 actually the formulators they don't need to do high shear dispersion, so which is different from the first product grade RC591. And this is the rheology of colloidal MCC, but then from the very beginning, this suspension sample, you can see that the small particle of MCC surrounding with a CMC polymer chains, right? So the particle and the polymer itself, they randomly arrayed in these 3D networks. But when you have a shear force or by shaking, you can decrease the viscosity immediately. So we call it shear thinning property. So then by shaking or having shear force, you can decrease the viscosity of colloidal MCC suspension. But when you put it there and storage for, a couple of hours or even longer, so this 3D networks can be, realigned, you can, which means you can rebuild the 3D networks to the exactly same status as the beginning. So this is the mechanism of the unique shear thinning property of colloidal MCC suspension. So firstly, we recommend to add colloidal MCC first. Yeah, so for RC591, usually you need a high shear mixer to activate the colloidal MCC. But if there's low pH ingredients in your formulation, because of the colloidal MCC has a stable pH range from pH 4 to pH 11. So sometimes if you have much lower pH, so you need to think about the protective colloid like CMC or xanthan, even mesocellulose. So try to, add avisol and disperse avisol firstly. Then, if there's any low pH ingredients or acid, which could be at, at the final step. And you can add, 10 to 20% by weight of avisol protective colloid for the low pH formulation, right? So the flocculation may occur by neutralization of the negative charge of CMC polymer. So any low pH, like below 3, or divalent cations, even magnesium or calcium ions, which might have impact on the colloidal MCC suspension stability. So in this case, we need to think about, either you need increased colloidal MCC use level a little bit higher, or adding the protective colloid. Yeah. And then we came up with two suspension formulations. First one is paracetamol liquid suspension with avisol RC591. So on the left side, you see the suspension formulation with RC591. The use level is 1.2% here, right? And this is the process. And then we can see the rheology result for the paracetamol suspension. So here, which is quite similar as a commercial paracetamol suspension products, we can see the 6-sorterpy result and gel strength result here. Yeah, so basically this is a very stable system. Yeah, actually we can have a very good suspending stability over several years. And second case study is reconcilable suspension. So it's a very simple process, just by powder mixing. So you can have a very simple formulation and the process. So you use the reconcilable suspension, we just need to add some water into the dry powder by shaking, and then you can have a multi-dose liquid suspension here, right? On the next slides, actually, you can see the reconcilable suspension formulation and process. This is a very straightforward formulation process. So just by physical blending. So the customer, they don't have the liquid production capability, so they can also think about to develop reconstitutable suspension. And then we can see the thixotropy and gel strengths of this reconstitutable suspension sample. Same like before, we measure the thixotropy gel strengths at after 2 hours and 24 hours. So you can see the thixotropy and gel strengths is kind of like not as good as the liquid suspension. So which means it cannot have a very long-term stability compared to the liquid suspension. But for reconstitutable suspension, usually the short time stability is acceptable, like for a couple of weeks, even 1 or 2 months. So that's fine for the reconstitutable suspension. So the other benefits is you don't need a special equipment to do the dispersing, right? So with the CL611, and just by dry blending, we can formulate a very simple reconstitutable suspension. And the third one is anti-reflux application. So basically for the gastroesophageal reflux medicines, we have the proton pump inhibitors like Nexium or antacid products. There are many this kind of products in the market. And third one is alginate-based anti-reflux products. So our products, sodium alginate, is the active ingredient for such kind of anti-reflux application. So the mechanism as active ingredients for the sodium alginate is there's a capability to have a cross-linking with calcium ions in the gastric fluid, so which can form a raft floated on the surface of the stomach fluid. So there's a couple of key benefits for use of alginate on the treatment of heartburn. First one is immediate onset of action and long-lasting effect than traditional antacid. There's no systemic physical mode of action versus chemical or pharmacological. In some others like PPI medicines, and is very safe for use by pregnant women and infants because it is a like kind of a physical barrier, which is very safe for special patients like even pregnant women or infants. And of course, it can be used in combination with classic antacids or histamine receptor antagonist as well. So this is the anti-reflux formulation and the process. So on the left side, you can see the formulation. The sodium alginate protonol LFR, which is a raft-forming active ingredients in this formulation. There are two other active ingredients like sodium bicarbonate as buoyancy and calcium carbonate to provide the calcium ions and have cross-linking with sodium alginate for the raft forming. We also have the viscophile carbonopolymers in this formulation. Of course, there's pH modifier and some, preservatives and sweeteners, flavors here. So this is a process to make a liquid anti-reflux formulation here. So this is the test method for the key anti-reflux product quality attributes raft strength test. This is according to the British pharmacopoeia, right? We can use a texture analyzer, and here you can see a L-shaped hook to measure the raft strength, and the raft strength data should be above 7.5 grams according to the British pharmacopoeia monograph. Yeah, this is some innovators existing commercial products. Actually, there are different dosage forms. There Gaviscon liquid or chewable tablets. And there are also some special one Gaviscon infants for the young kids or baby. So you can see because this is a very safe medicine for anti-reflux formulation, actually from kids to adults, actually they do have very wide product range for different patients, right? So then we can have a summary for today's topic. Firstly, pediatric formulation development should be aligned with the requirement of pediatric drugs. Appropriate dosage forms which design efficacy, safety, and acceptability will bring benefits to high-quality pediatric drugs with good patient compliance. Yeah, for the taste masking product, Aquacoat ECD is superior coating products for particularly taste masking coating. The taste mask granules or pellets can be easily used in pediatric sachet or formulation, ODT formulations. Due to the unique rheology property, colloidal MCC, like Aviso RC or CL, is widely used in pediatric patient-friendly suspension products as suspending agents. For the anti-reflux application, protonol LFR sodium alginate based solution can bring benefits on treatment of heartburn in terms of excellent efficacy and safety. So the products for infants and children are available for those kind of formulation with sodium alginate. Okay, I think that's all for today's topic. So if you have any questions, please feel free to raise your questions. I think during the Q&A session, so we can answer your questions.
All right, thank you, Mr. James. I think we have a few of questions coming in. Once again, for the housekeeping during this next 10 minutes, I would like to say to the audience that please feel free to ask your question in the Q&A. And this webinar is hosted by DuPont Pharma Solutions. So we would like to thank you and recognize on the support to share the knowledgeable webinar to the audience here. We have the audience from India, Southeast Asian, and even some from China. So thank you very much for joining today. Before I'm going to go to the next Q&A question, I would like to show one video which will be explaining more about the DuPont Pharma Solution products, and then we come back for Q&A. Let's enjoy the video by DuPont. All right, that is the very nice video on sustainable how DuPont run the business, and also the solution that come in many of the solution and the application for the industry, and focus also for this webinar on pediatric drug solution. So I come to the Q&A session. I have two types of questions here. One is the pre-question from our registration, and also the question from the live. So may I invite Mr. James to open the camera, please. Mr. James, are you ready? First question is very easy on the Avicel. I think you can elaborate more to the audience here in the Q&A box, that what is really the difference between Avicel RC/CL used as a suspending agent and Avicel pH 101, normally used as direct compression filler. What is the difference?
Okay, got it. Yeah, welcome back. Yeah, I think this is is a very good question. Actually, our Avicel product brand name is a very unique, comprehensive portfolio. Include the pure MCC grade, which is Avicel pH you can see a long list of different pure MCC product grade, pH 101, 102, even pH 200, for different purpose of oral solid dosiform application. But the colloidal MCC, abyssal RC, and CL, they're a little bit different. So these two product grades are co-processed MCC products. So just now we introduced there are two single components in this product. One is a CMC, the other one's micro crystalline cellulose. So there's this very special co-process procedure to, combine this each individual single components to, come up with a very unique rheology property. That's why it could be used as suspending agent, as stabilizer for suspension application. Okay, I guess, yeah, I answered this question.
All right. Anyway, if they want more of the explanation, the audience can email to DuPont Pharma Solution for getting the answer. We have dropped the email ID in the chat box that you can take for asking the question after the webinar session. So come to the second question, Mr. James, on the Alvicel RC591/CL611. It always gives the same rheology if use the different ingredients.
Yeah, I think if I understand well, in the same formulation with exactly the same API, so there's some difference between these two grades. Yeah.
Okay.
Is
so
that the case?
The question asks about if using other ingredients, so we will give the same rheology behavior. It's like depend on ingredient as well, or the same behavior on rheology behavior.
Okay, got it. Yeah, there might be other options that you can use other polymers to increase the viscosity of your suspension or solution formulation, but there's a little bit different from colloidal MCC because this product is a shear sealing system. So normally without shaking, it maintains the high viscosity, so that make the suspensions very stable. Even you have some big particles in your formulation. But other polymers like HPMC or even carbamol, it can maintain the high viscosity at high use level, but the shear sealing property is not so much. So that's why. So when you think about the suspension or nasal spray formulation, it's ideally you can have a shear sealing suspending agent, yeah, which is more suitable for the processing and for the when the patient they take the medicine is more convenient. Yeah.
I believe that if the audience who asked this question reach to Mr. James or the DuPont Pharma Solutions email, can go into detail on the application and different formulation that looking for. Okay, so come to the last question because of the time constraint. I'm going to ask Mr. James that from your presentation on the panelists that you do on the same age group to the designated age group of the dosage formulate, like what you are showing and the dosage formulate that represent the same age group or not. I think this question is pretty much on the very very early slide you have. But this one you can answer on the chat box as on the Q&A box as well, because I would put it to ask the audience to refer to at what stage they are asking on your presentation. So can I jump into the next question, please? The last one, very last one.
Yeah.
What is the alternative dosage form for alginate? That must be suspension, or we can develop other dosage form like tablet.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, yeah, on this presentation, you can see there are a couple of different commercial product with different dosage forms, right? Liquid, sachet, even chewable tablets. Yeah, I think those dosage forms right now, they are available from the market. Yeah, but they for the tablets formulation, formulators they might need to take a look at the patent. Yeah, so if the but I think the IOD product, their patent for the tablet formulation, yeah, will be expired. Yeah, recently. Yeah, so I think in the future there's no patent infringement risk. Yeah, if the generic customer they would like to develop a similar products.
All right, so thank you very much, Mr. James. Ladies and gentlemen, we run out of time now. And to repeat again, this webinar is sponsored by DuPont Pharma Solution. If you have any question, you may email to pharmasolution.ap@dupont.com. So I already provide in the chat box. You can take that email and email to the service team and even Mr. James directly. Today, I would like to thank you, Mr. James, for very technical and comprehensive explanation on pediatric drug solution by DuPont. And thank you very much to DuPont Pharma Solution to sponsor this webinar for the knowledge on the pediatric drug usage in the region. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you, Rose, for your very great support.